All right. Well, welcome back, everyone, to Student Dream TV. I'm your host, Nina Uguomo, and we're bringing you the best money, investing, and startup tips so that you can secure the bag before and after graduation. And so today, I'm really excited to continue our keynote series because we're walking through this new normal, and I want you to know, how can you make money during and after quarantine? Right. And so today I have an incredible guest. Her name is Shae Bynes, and she has been a serial entrepreneur, launching and growing multiple businesses by leveraging entrepreneurship and faith. And so she's going to fire you up today. And so again, if you want to figure out, man, how can I make money during and after this crisis through entrepreneurship? Keep listening. All right. So welcome, Shae Bynes. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Absolutely. Really happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And so I just gave your introduction, but I'd love for you to, introduce yourself to the Student Dream community. If you can just quickly tell us, who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I am a wife of my high school sweetheart. We've been married for almost 21 years now.
Wow.
We live in Florida, in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale area. We have 3 daughters ranging from toddler to college. So my youngest is 3, my middle is 12, and my oldest is, she turned 19? 19. My oldest is 19. And so it's a very interesting dynamic in our family household. I went to college in Florida, University of South Florida, graduated in 1999 with a degree in computer science. I also have an MBA, and I started my career in technology, working at IBM Corporation for almost 10 years. Wow. Before the Lord pretty much snatched me out and I became a full-time entrepreneur. That was in 2010. So I've been a real estate investor for years. My husband and I invest in properties down here. And currently my focus is a Kingdom-Driven Entrepreneur, which is a movement where we inspire, teach, and mentor those who really desire to partner with God in the work that they do in the marketplace. And so I've been doing that for almost 8 years. It's been an amazing ride. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell.
That's amazing. And that was fast.
It was fast. I didn't know how much time we've got. We've got lots of time.
I know that was let's start with this, right? So you mentioned you started in technology for 10 years. You've been in entrepreneurship for 8 years. Can you talk
longer than that?
Longer than that.
Because when I started my full-time job in 1999, it was within a year that I started the business on the side. So I've been doing something in business since the year 2000.
Wow. Amazing. Okay. So tell me a bit about just your journey, because when you think about just students who are listening today, a lot of them are trying to still figure out, man, what do I want to do? How do I make my way towards financial freedom and professional freedom? So can you tell us a little bit about your story? Because I think there's a lot we can glean from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was finishing college, I had this friend who was really keen on business and would talk to me about things like investing and stuff like that. I didn't really have a context for it. I didn't have any entrepreneurs in my family that I knew of. I did. I just didn't realize it. And my parents never really talked to me about investing and stuff like that. And so it was one of my friends in college who kind of piqued my interest. And so very early on, like when I started my corporate career, I immediately started investing in all the retirement options that they provided. I did that. I immediately started researching what does real estate investing look like and what would it take to get started and all of those things. It took a long time for me to actually do something, to be clear.
Okay.
I was researching it in 2001 and we didn't have our first investment property until 2008. So there was like a 7-year of just researching and just dipping my toe out there, but I was investing in the market and investing in retirement and all of those things. And so even though I didn't know much, what I would do is I would take the little bit that I knew and see how can I steward this little bit that I know.
Yes.
Growing from there. I didn't have to have like all the details. I didn't even know when I started my first business, it really wasn't a business. It was like a way to make extra money. My husband and I finished college in Florida. My husband and I moved to Connecticut for me to start my career. He didn't have a job yet. And even though I had a good paying job, when it came to having a lot of extra for us to do things like when we wanted to go back to Florida to visit the family, hang out there for a while, get the airline tickets and all those things, it was like, well, I want to still maintain our savings and our investing and stuff like that and still do these other things, you know? And so my intention in the beginning was just, how can I make a little bit of extra money? And so what I did is I went and I started looking for like hard to find items. And I started selling them online on auctions. Back then it was called Yahoo Auctions. Now eBay pretty much has the space, and Amazon. But back then it was Yahoo Auctions, and I would just find stuff and get it and sell it. Some of the things I was using for drop shipping, where I was ordering, I didn't have to order it from the person until I already had it purchased, and then I could order it. Wow. And there was no money involved in that. And then in other cases, I was shopping and looking for things and would find things and put them online, and people would buy them. Sometimes for way more than the retail price. Some of it was really shocking. But it was like, but that was in the beginning, that was like my dipping my toe in the water. I wasn't building a business or anything. I have friends who have businesses that do that, and they've built hugely successful businesses doing that. I was just looking for, how can I create income? What does that look like? And there's so many different ways.
How can I create income?
Yes. And so we ended up making a couple $1,000s. We were able to do what we need to do, put a little part, start putting a little bit toward, a vacation fund. And we were able to do those things. But the bottom line was, I didn't have a ton of information. I didn't have a ton of knowledge. I didn't know all the details for how to do everything. I simply would start by where I was, see what I could learn, and start to practice some stuff and see what works. So that means even when I chose that path of, well, why don't I just sell some stuff? That means there were some things I didn't sell. And there was a couple things I took a small little loss on, right? But I didn't have a huge risk. I would take something that wasn't a huge risk, but I would just take those steps and see what I can learn and fine tune along the way. That's how I was in real estate investing as well. It was like, what do I know? How much information can I work with and start taking action on? And then where do I need to pivot? Where do I need to make the adjustments? We weren't the best real estate investors in the beginning, but we knew enough to like start marketing for deals. Then we had to figure out how to know whether it was a deal or not, and all of those things. But I didn't have to have every detail figured out before I started. I just started. I didn't have to know all the details about how the stock market worked before I said, there's a 401k plan here, and if I put some money in there, my company's gonna match it. That's free money. Like, it was just like, I didn't have to know all the details. I could just work with what I knew and just grow and experience and knowledge and understanding as I go. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that young people make, and not only young people of all ages, because plenty of my peers who are in their 40s make this mistake as well. It's feeling like they have to have like this full blueprint, all the details, know every step before they move, as opposed to just taking steps and stewarding it and learning along the way.
That's so good, Shae. That's a great summation of your journey, taking steps along the way, doing the research, wanting it, and because you wanted it, you put in that work and that effort, but not being afraid to take those steps.
Yes, not being afraid to take the steps, because you are going to make some mistakes. It's not like you're not going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. So just own that. Like, I'm going to make mistakes. And I'm glad that I'm going to make some mistakes, because in my mistakes, I learned something very valuable for the next thing. When you make a mistake, it's not like it's just a loss. No, you look for the gold.
That's so good.
You look for the gold in that thing, because it's going to help you later on.
That's so good. And then, you talked about when you were researching for real estate, how it kind of took you a little too long. Why do you think you waited? Why do you think you waited a little too long to make your first step?
Because I was scared. I felt like the risk, what I was learning at that time, the risk seemed really huge. It wasn't until I had done enough research and found lower risk ways to enter that I felt the confidence to start making some steps. So in the beginning, with my only understanding of real estate investing is, I've got to have all this money to put down on this property to rehab it. And then I need to know how to rehab it and then know how to sell it. I only had certain context and understanding for real estate investing, and all of the things that I knew seemed to be too far out of reach. Like, I couldn't see a path. So once I realized that there was some strategies, for example, in real estate investing, there's something called wholesaling, where it's just like, you're just getting the contract and then selling the rights to that contract to someone else who then closes on the deal. And you're making a spread in the middle. You're involved in real estate investing, but you actually didn't acquire the property. You just, here you go. And it's a quick way and a very risk-free way of getting involved and getting your feet wet. And so once I realized that, I'm like, oh, well, I can start there and then just explore and see what happens along the way. And we ended up buying property, having rental property. You know, we've done all of those things. Now we're looking at, you know, what can we do in commercial? That's our interest now.
Come on, glory to glory. Let's go.
Absolutely. But the thing was, unless I started and tried and worked through some stuff, and we made some mistakes in real estate investing. I'm not going to sit here and act like we didn't. We made some mistakes.
Thanks for being honest.
We did. But the thing was that ultimately we were able to learn from those mistakes, do it better the next time. And to be honest with you, some of the things that we did years ago when we had lean times later on, it was like we had a property that was like, wow, it was like our ram in the bush, the biblical model. It's like it was like, oh, we have a need, and that is an answer to our prayer right now. I mean, so it's been so interesting, but
that's awesome. And I didn't even know, when we first met at the She Roars conference, shout out to Carla Fratico. I'm going to introduce you soon, Carla. Last year, I just knew you on the entrepreneurship side, the pure starting a regular, business, not into real estate. But you've worked in the corporate world, you've done real estate, you've done entrepreneurship, you have done coach, consultant. You talk about the pillars of building wealth. You have done it. And so you are very much so qualified because you have both intellectual wisdom and something I value, moral wisdom, to give our students. And so talk to me about, like, when you think of this new normal that we're living in right now, so many doors have been closing, but I believe there's so many doors that are opening. What are some of the career and financial advice that you'd give to our students watching in the Student Dream community?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll start by sharing what I have taken my daughter through, because I think it will give a good example for what I'd say to anybody. My daughter, who's 19, and she's in her second year, she's finishing up her second year of college right now. And one of the things that I started with her some years ago was around experience. So everything I say right now, I think is relevant to anyone, who's a new college grad or just about to graduate, either way.
Yeah.
But I was like, if there's an area that you have interest in, let's build some skill. Let's get some experience. My daughter, for her, she did internships. Mm-hmm. Now, her interest is in baking. And so she wanted to learn how to bake, and she wants to eventually own her own bakery.
Right.
Wonderful. Okay. So let's find some folks, because I don't know how to bake. Let's connect you with somebody who knows what you want to do, knows how to do it, that you can get some experience, whether the experience is paid or it's barely paid or it's fully paid. Let's get you some experience. And so she got an earlier start, and I did this too when I was in college. I took internships, and I was like, I just want to build experience and get some skill under my belt, whether it's paid or not. I'm willing to do it. Okay. So there's plenty of businesses. There's small business owners that need help, and some of them will be able to pay you. She actually ended up getting paid. She didn't get paid like a full-time person would have been paid, but she got paid for the work that she did. And she was building a lot of experience in those weeks. And then she went back and did it again and went back and did it again. Right. So getting that experience is super duper value. Don't underestimate the value of experience. If you have some skills and you can serve somebody with your skills and kind of get some experience. By the way, let's say, for example, that your skill was in graphic arts or something. It's like, okay, well, I have some graphic arts skills. Wonderful. Well, there's a lot of people who are in need of graphic art skills for certain things.
That's a fact.
Lots of people are in need of that kind of thing. So if for whatever reason you weren't able to right now find a full-time position somewhere, then you could be looking at a couple different things. You could be looking at websites like Upwork, where there's people that put their projects and you can just say, hey, I'm going to bid on projects. Or you can also say, hey, I have this skill. I'd like to serve and build my portfolio and offer your services to whether it's nonprofits or to small business owners or whatever, and get that experience, because what you're going to get out of that is also, when you do a good job, because you should do a good job for them, you
Say
also
that.
have a whole nother network available to you. They may then say, now I want to hire you for something or project or whatever, but they also now have your name to say, hey, to somebody else, man, John did an amazing job for me. You should really look at him. And so there's so much value in that, whether you're compensated or not financially in the beginning. So I don't want to devalue that, because some people are like, no, I've got these skills. Like, I need to get paid, and I need to get paid now. That's wonderful. And if you can, I'd say go for it. But if you can't, if you're finding challenges and finding employment, that would be my next recommendation.
Thank you so much, Shae. Are there any just, parting words you have for any of us?
And I've laid so much on the table here. I'm going to leave it right there.
Yes.
I'm going to leave it right there.
Man.
But this has been so good. Just be encouraged at this time. Don't be now I'm about to say something.
I know, right?
Stay encouraged in the midst of this pandemic stuff. Know that your future is not in jeopardy based off of, the what's happening today. All is well. You can still progress. You can still move through things. There might be certain things that are delayed, but it'll still be okay. It's going to be all right. It's going to be okay. So just steward your now. Steward your now,
man.
And preparation for the future. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you, Shae. And so you all, now is the moment of truth. As always, please hear me. Hear me, guys. What steps are you going to take? You don't have to have all 20 steps laid out. Just let us know, what is the one step you're going to take today, right now. Write it down on a piece of paper. Make that vision clear. Write it down in the comment section, because talk is cheap. Talk is broke. And time is money. So we got to get started now, y'all. We believe in you. We know that you can do it, but you got to get started today. And Student Dream is here to help you. We have our community. We have our membership program to help you, give you that community, that mentorship, that learning, right? That fire to just continue making progress forward and to continue to build wealth with joy, integrity, generosity, and holistically. All right, y'all. We believe in you. Let's do it. And I will see you next time on Student Dream TV. This is Nina Uguomo signing off. Bye, guys.